So today I'm going to be planting the chestnut trees that I grew from seed. I'm going to be planting them on the east side of the property. So I grew all these chestnut trees here that you see in the pots here and the pots back there. All of those I grew from seed this year. I ended up with a total of 83 chestnut trees. I did sell some of those, and I have 55 trees left that we're going to plant on the east side of our property. We're trying to fill that side of the property back in with trees and try to do all nut trees. So hopefully, in the end, most of that side will be more of a chestnut tree forest when we're done, hopefully. So we'll be planting these trees in a tree tube, a tree shelter, basically, that will help the tree grow up straighter and taller faster. It'll help protect it from the deer and the wildlife. As the tree grows, it'll help it reach a little bit taller height quicker. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go over and head to the east side of the property. We're going to start laying out where we're going to put all of these trees. So I'm up here at the front of the property. This is where we're going to plant the majority of our chestnut trees. So we did have 3 chestnut trees die in our previous chestnut trees that we had planted. So we'll take 3 of our chestnut trees and replace those. That's going to leave us with 52 chestnut trees to plant up here. So when I say plant the east side of my property, basically from our driveway over to the east, I'd like to make this all full of trees again. I'd like to make this all kind of woods on this side of our driveway. So our property line is somewhere back over there. You can see we already put some chestnut trees back there. They're in those tubes. And I just want to slowly fill in all these grassy areas. Everywhere where you see grass, I want to slowly fill that all in with trees. So all this area all the way back to there is where we're going to be planting these chestnut trees today. So we are going to be putting them in tree tubes. I've got at least 50. I got 50 tree tubes right here. That's almost enough to do all the trees. These are the Miracle tree tube. I got this off of Amazon. They come with 5 of them, all kind of stacked inside of each other. So there's 5 together in a bunch here. So they end up being kind of like 5 different diameters. These are 5-foot tall tubes, so they come up to about my shoulder. To hold them up, I'm going to be using a bamboo stake. So I've got 50 bamboo stakes here that are 6 foot long. So I think I'll be able to put those in the ground about 1.5 feet in the ground, and then be able to zip tie the tree tube to it to hold it up. So these tree tubes, take a look at these real quick. So these tree tubes actually have holes in them for ventilation, and they have this nice removable zip tie. It's got a nice little lever on there that you can push on and undo the zip tie so you can take it on and off. So these holes go from about halfway down the tube all the way to the top. The very bottom of the tube doesn't have any holes in it. Those holes are for ventilation so the tree can breathe. But the bottom of the tube doesn't have any holes except for the one for the zip tie down there. And the reason that is so you can spray weed killer around the tree, kill all the weeds around the tree, and so it doesn't have to compete for nutrients with all the weeds. I haven't really done that with any of my trees, but that's what the purpose of that is. You can spray weed killer around the tree, and you don't have to worry about it getting on the tree because there's no holes down there. So that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using these 5-foot tree tubes to put them in. So the way we're going to start this off is I'm going to take these bamboo stakes. I'm going to start putting them in the ground, hopefully in nice, neat rows, so you could call it an orchard later if we want to call it a chestnut orchard. This might be a money-making opportunity later with 100 chestnut trees, maybe later on this side. And it should be very good to hunt over for deer. But we're going to put these stakes in the ground. We're going to start laying out where we're going to plant all our trees. So that's what we're going to start off. We're going to start putting all these bamboo stakes in the ground, marking where we're going to plant our trees. So let's get started. So, to no surprise, the bamboo is actually made in China, just like mostly everything. But when I was younger, the company I worked for actually ended up working in China for a couple months, around 2003. And I was in Shanghai, and they had bamboo scaffolding That's what they made their scaffolding out of, bamboo. So you'd have these 4-story tall scaffolding made out of bamboo like this, all kind of tied together going up the building. And they'd have it over the sidewalk, so you'd be walking under it. But there is no way I'd get on a scaffolding made out of this stuff. I know bamboo's really strong, but I don't think that bamboo scaffolding's for me. But they sure had a lot of it. Whew. So we did actually just get like 2.5 inches of rain yesterday, so these bamboo stakes are going in the ground pretty easily, so I'm just kind of pushing them in. I did break one though, so one down. Hopefully I don't break too many more. If not, I got a bunch of T-posts. That's what I'd used in the past, is just a bunch of T-posts. So whatever I'm short on bamboo when I'm done, I'll just use T-posts instead. Well, that took me a little bit longer than I thought, maybe, to get the rows laid out. So I kind of went over it a couple times, just kind of making sure everything was nice and straight. And so I got everything spaced on a 15-foot spacing. And I was able to get 42 bamboo stakes in this area. So 42 of my chestnut trees will end up filling out this whole area on this side. So I'll take the rest of my chestnut trees, I'll plant them down further that direction where a bunch of my other chestnut trees are. That's where they'll end up going. But I'm going to focus on this area right now. So what I'm going to do next is, I just bush hogged this like a week ago. This grass is still like 8 inches tall. I'm going to go through here with a weed eater, with a string weed eater. It shouldn't break the bamboo sticks, but I'm going to go around the bamboo sticks. I'm going to try to cut the grass basically down to the dirt around every one of these bamboo sticks. And then I'll come back, we'll start planting our trees. So I'm done weed eating around all of the bamboo stakes, and now I'm ready to plant the chestnut trees that I grew from seed. It's time to get these planted into the ground. So what I'm going to do is not necessarily the correct way to do this, but it's going to be my way of doing it. It's going to be a quick way so I can get it all done as quick as possible, and then this whole area is complete and I can move on to somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a post hole digger, and I'm basically going to dig a little hole right next to this bamboo stake here. And basically a post hole digger is going to be the same diameter as this pot here. So I'm just going to make a hole with the post hole digger about the same depth as the pot, dig that dirt out, and then I'm going to take this pot, take the tree out of the pot, put it down in that hole, kind of push it down in there good and tight, and then slide the tree tube over it, and that's it. And just move on to the next tree. I should be able to move fairly quickly that way. I should just have to basically carry a post hole digger around with me. So basically what I'm going to do is, I'm first just going to take all my trees and I'm going to lay them next to the stakes. I'm going to take all my tree tubes, get them all laid out next to the stakes as well, and then I can just take the post hole digger around with me and just keep moving around planting each one of these trees. So let's get started. So about 1/3 of the way through of planting all these trees, the post hole digger actually ended up breaking on me. It was kind of on its last leg anyway. It was barely working, and so then I switched to this trenching shovel instead. And to be honest with you, the trenching shovel works very well. It's probably easier to use and quicker than using the post hole digger. So I think in the end, instead of a post hole digger, I just think a small trenching shovel like this, you can make a really small hole about the same size as a post hole digger to be able to put your tree in. So I changed my mind. Trenching shovel is the way to go. So when I put these in, what I'm doing right now is I put them in the hole and then I kind of push them over as close to the bamboo stake as I can, and then I just fill in this far side the rest of the way with some of the original dirt that was in the hole. Get that all packed down in there. There it is. planted. Put the tree tube on. When I put these tubes on, I try to cover up that chestnut seed, because if the squirrels can get to it, they'll try to get that chestnut seed that's from when I planted it. All right, next. So my best looking chestnut trees are actually the ones I ended up selling. I wasn't gonna sell the chestnut trees that didn't look very good. I wanted to make sure that I was selling trees that were good quality trees. So the trees that are left that I'm planting here weren't the best trees out of my, out of the trees that I grew. All my best trees, can't remember how many I sold. I think I sold about 33 trees. Or somewhere close to that, or 28 trees, and they were my best trees. And so some of these are not the best looking trees, but hopefully they'll grow, and I'll have me a chestnut grove of chestnut trees, or a chestnut orchard, or something here in the future. Now behind me, I don't know if you can see it, behind me there's actually a bunch of blue flags. Behind me, they're probably hard to see, but I actually have marked where I planted my hazelnut trees. So I have 8 hazelnut trees in this area behind me. They're really short trees, they're only like 1 to 2 foot tall, it seems like. They're not very big. Hopefully those trees will grow, and we'll have a bunch of hazelnuts back in this section over here. So I just got done planting all those chestnut trees in this area up front. As you can see, the sun is back behind these trees over here. It's where I can't see it anymore. It's not quite sunset yet, but it's 8 o'clock at night. I haven't ate any supper yet. I'm ready to get inside, take a shower, get something to eat. But just look at all these tree tubes we have. I mean, you can't see the chestnut trees no more, but you just see all these tree tubes. And to me, I can see that, I can see this all being a forest here later, or all being a nice big grove of nut trees on this side. So I'm really happy about that. So to the north of me is all woods, and there's a couple 100 acres worth of woods on that side of me to the north, and there's a creek to the north, and that is deer country right there to the north. And my property and this property over to the east of me has woods on it, and this is the south part of all this big section of woods. Everything south of me is just open fields, so I'm on the very south point of this big deer hunting area, really. So to the north of me is definitely deer hunting country. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to definitely get more deer to come over here on my property, and I'm hoping that all these chestnut trees are going to be the destination for the deer to come and eat in the fall. So really hoping these chestnut trees will attract the deer to my property. I'm hoping they will seek it out. I don't know of anybody else around here that has chestnut trees. I think when those deer find these chestnut trees, they won't be able to get them anywhere else. They're going to have to come here, So I'm hoping this will bring the deer in once they taste these chestnuts. So I think I got about 5 years before I start producing some chestnuts, somewhere between 5 and 7 years. So it will take a while for this to actually really turn into trees that are bearing nuts, but a lot of work now. I'm hoping it'll pay off later. So anyway, really happy to get all these trees in. I think this is going to look great in a few years. So I'm going to go inside and get cleaned up. Thanks for watching.